Hey guys, it's Emily and welcome to episode 4 of Books Around the World, where I read books set in different cities, countries, and continents. So I'm super excited for today's episode because, as you can tell by the title, we are traveling to England. And if you didn't know, England holds a special place in my heart because I studied abroad in England about 3 years ago, fall of 2017, and it was one of the best times of my life. I know I sound like a cliche, but I don't remember a time feeling as happy and fulfilled as I did when I was studying abroad in England. I just loved it so much. I not only visited the bigger cities like Manchester, London, Oxford, and Bath, but I also took the opportunity to explore everything that England has to offer. So I also visited smaller cities such as St. Ives and Windermere, and I just had such an amazing time, and I have the best memories of my time abroad, and I really want to go back, especially lately. I don't know what it is, but I've been craving some traveling. So we're going to do the next best thing and read books that are set in countries that I want to travel to. Before I dive into my TBR, I just wanted to make a quick note. The books that I will be reading in today's episode are all going to be set outside of London. I am planning on doing a separate episode for London, and obviously if you guys have any recommendations for books that are set in London, please leave them in the comments down below. I already have a list, but I would love to see what you guys would recommend. Now let's dive into my TBR. The first book that I will be reading in this episode is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Okay, I am so excited to be reading this. It's actually going to be a reread for me because I have read this before. I was about 15 or 16 when I first read it, but I read it in French, and ever since I went to Bath, I've been really wanting to get back into Jane Austen's work and read her entire work, but in English. So I decided to reread this, and I'm just very excited to be rereading it because it is one of my favorite classics. And if you didn't know, this is like the OG Hate to Love romance. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite tropes, so no surprise there. I love the movie adaptation, so we might watch one of those. This is not super specific in terms of setting though, but I've done a little bit of research and I found that this book might be set in Hertfordshire, which is kind of funny because I studied abroad in Hertfordshire. I was at the University of Hertfordshire, so it's kind of crazy that this book might have been set there. Like, while we'll be reading it, I'll try to pay special attention to like where the book is set specifically. I know it's set in England, but I just don't know exactly where, so I'll try to see if there's any mentions of like cities or things that I might be able to reference, because if that's the case and it's really set in Hertfordshire, I am legit gonna scream because like this is where I studied, and so it has like a special place in my heart. Like, I have a special connection to it, and so I'm very excited to be reading this. I'm also reading it for the Affectionately Austen book club hosted by Desi over at Pastel Pages. I will leave the link to Desi's channel in the description box down below if you guys want to check that out. But we are reading this in August and September, so this is the perfect time because we're in the middle of August as of right now. So yeah, very excited to read this. I've been in the mood to read a classic lately, so this is going to be perfect. Book number 2 is My Oxford Year by Julia Whelan. As you can tell by the title, this is set in Oxford, and we're following American Ella Duran, who has always wanted to study at Oxford. Now she's 24 and she's officially made it to England on a Rhodes Scholarship when she's offered a position on a presidential campaign back home. She promises to work remotely and to return to DC at the end of her Oxford year, so in the meantime she's free to enjoy her once-in-a-lifetime experience. However, on her first day she encounters a local who has a smart mouth and ruins her shirt in her first day. So she's brought back to reality. When Ella discovered that her English course literature is taught by none other than that same local, she starts to think that Oxford may not be everything that she has hoped it would be. I've heard great things about this book. I've heard that this is incredibly sad, so I'm kind of on the fence because I'm not one that typically will pick sad books, but I've heard that it's great, so I'm looking forward to it. Julia Whelan is a very popular audiobook narrator, which is funny because she is one of the narrators of the next book that is on my TBR, which is A Question of Holmes by Brittany Cavallero. So this is the fourth and final book in the Charlotte Holmes series, which is a gender-bent retelling of Sherlock Holmes. In this one, Charlotte and Jamie are spending the summer at Oxford for a pre-college summer program at Oxford University. When they arrive, Charlotte is immediately drawn to a new case. A series of accidents has been befalling the members of the community theater troupe, and now, on the eve of their production of Hamlet, they're starting all over again. I am super excited to be reading this because I just love this series so much. I feel like it's so underhyped and it deserves a lot more love. If you're looking for a fun YA mystery thriller series that will give you all the fall cozy vibes, I highly recommend this series, but I'm very excited to be reading it. I will be listening to the audiobook as well. This series is really great on audiobook, so I love listening to the audiobook and following along with my physical copy, so I'm very much looking forward to reading it. So this is my TBR for this episode. As you can tell, it's a little bit smaller than I typically go for, but this is perfect for me because I have a lot of other books that I want to get to, and I have a lot of other videos that I want to film soon, and I am working full time, so I have to like choose my priorities. But now let's pick my first read. So I think I'm going to go with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen because because it's a classic and I'm in the mood for a classic, but also because it's the longest book on my TBR. This one is like 450 pages and it's a classic, so the style will probably be a little bit more difficult for me to go through. So I kind of want to start with this one.
Oh my god, it's been confirmed. Would you look at that? Hertfordshire. Oh, this makes me so happy.
Hey guys, good morning. So it's been like 2 days since I have last updated you. I haven't been making as much reading progress as I hoped I would at this point. So I'm currently reading Pride and Prejudice, as you guys know, and I'm reading this a little bit slower than I had anticipated. I'll be completely honest. I am currently on page 100 and I'm enjoying it, but it is a little bit harder to read because it is a classic. So it reads like a classic. It doesn't read like a YA contemporary or romance, which is what I typically read. So I'm struggling a little bit with it. However, it is really fun. I think it was a good decision to start with that one when it comes to like reading classics and like reading Austen's work, because this is the one that I'm most familiar with. I've seen the movie several times, so I'm familiar with the story, so it's a lot easier to understand what's going on because I know what's going to happen basically. So I am enjoying it, but it is a little bit of a struggle. I'm reading this a lot slower because of the writing style. It's not too complicated to read, but I do struggle a little bit with it. Sometimes I have to reread sentences and I'm just reading it a lot slower than I would normally because I really want to make sure that I understand everything and I can really savor it. So I'm not reading as fast as I thought I would. It was a good decision to start with that one for this reading vlog because since it's going to take me the longest to read, it's a good thing that I'm starting with it, because I think if I had read it like at the end of the vlog, I probably would have lost a lot of motivation. So it's a good thing that I'm starting with it, but I am enjoying it. Like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying it. Also, I feel like things happen really quickly in the book. I remember the movie and I feel like I've only read 100 pages, so I'm like a quarter of the way through and a lot has already happened. In my head, I'm further in the movie than I am in the book. If I follow the movie like script, I feel like I'm much further ahead than I would be in the book. I don't know. I just feel like a lot has happened already and I'm only 100 pages in. It's kind of like surprising because I wasn't expecting so much to happen so quickly. So it's a good thing because that means that there's more action going on. But today I will be going to the office, and I know you're like, what does it have to do with anything? So I have a meeting with my boss for the end of my probation evaluation, and so we're doing this in person. So I'm going to the office, which I haven't done a lot since I've started working there. I've been working exclusively from home, but some days I'll have to go to the office for either meetings or like we had to film a video last week, so I had to go over there. But most of the time I just like work from home, so I'll be spending the afternoon in the office. And like I said, you probably are wondering what it has to do with anything, but I will be walking there because I live like pretty close to the office, maybe 5 minutes with a car, but I don't have a car. So I will be walking there. So it's about a half-hour walk to get to the office. So I am going to start an audiobook, and I think I will start reading A Question of Homes by Brittany Cavallero. Like I said, I have the audiobook for it, so I think I'm going to start it. I like to follow along with the physical copy normally, but I don't think it's going to be a struggle to like follow without the physical copy. Like I think it can still very much much understand the story. So I think I'm going to start this one today as well. So I don't know how much reading I'll be able to get done. I'm very excited to start reading that one. I'm in the mood for it. Hey guys, so it is the next day and I wanted to update you guys on my reading. So yesterday I made it to page 184 of Pride and Prejudice. I am still really enjoying it. Actually, I am reading this a lot quicker now. I don't know if it's just like the first 100 pages that were hard to go through because I wasn't used to the writing style and everything, and now I am. But I'm reading this a lot quicker now, which is great. And also I'm quite surprised by some of the events that take place in this book. I had forgotten quite a bit about the storyline. I remember like the grand lines and like what happens more or less because of the movie, but I had forgotten a lot of like the smaller storylines, and I'm quite surprised, which is great because since I'm used to the story, like I know it, I feel like I'm not necessarily on the edge of my seat while I'm reading it. It's not like I'm dying to find out what's going to happen next, and so it's nice that there are still little plot twists, I guess, that I wasn't expecting, and so that keeps me on my toes. So yeah, I'm still very much enjoying it. I am kind of looking forward for more action though, because so far Elizabeth and Darcy haven't interacted all that much, like a little bit at first, but now they're separated, so I'm really hoping that they'll get back to like interacting in some way soon, because that's the best part about this book. All the side characters and everything, like they're interesting, but I'm really here for like the romance between Elizabeth and Darcy, so I'm just really hoping that they'll get back to interacting in some way soon. And I also have to update you guys on a question of Holmes. So yesterday I wanted to start listening to the audiobook, as I mentioned, and that didn't happen. Basically, when I left for the office, I was in a rush. I didn't have time to have lunch completely because like I made lunch, but it took so long to heat up and everything, like to cook, that I had to like rush out the door, chug my lunch as I was walking to the office, and I just wasn't in the right headspace to read. I just felt really rushed and I really wanted to make sure that I was on time and everything, so I didn't really start the book like at all. So I didn't really start reading on my walk. However, when I came home, I decided to give this first chapter a try, so I have read the first chapter and I am currently on page 6, so I've made a little bit of progress with this book. So far, the biggest surprise, I guess, with this book is that this is told from Charlotte's perspective. If you didn't know, the rest of the series follows Jamie, the equivalent of Dr. Watson, and I'm kind of surprised that this book follows Charlotte because I did really love Jamie as a narrator. I think he's one of the main reasons why I love A Study in Charlotte and like the entire series so much. So I don't know if this is going to taint my enjoyment of the book. I don't know if the entire book is told from Charlotte's perspective. So far, like I flipped through it and it seems to be. So I don't know if this is going to change the way I feel about this series or just this book as a whole, but I guess we'll see. I'm not the biggest fan of Charlotte's chapter typically. Like she's had a couple of chapters here and there in the rest of the series, and I just typically don't really like them as much because her storytelling style is very different from Watson's. I mean, Watson is a romantic, he's very human, kind of like Dr. Watson in the original Sherlock Holmes stories. Like he's a narrator and this is why we love them so much. But Charlotte is very detail oriented and very like pragmatic, I guess. And I don't know, I just feel like the vibe is very different, which is normal, and it concords with like the original characters. But I don't know, so far kind of surprised, but I don't really have like a specific feeling towards this book because I've only read 6 pages, so like it's really not enough for me to form an actual opinion. But I'm looking forward to it still. Even if like Charlotte might be the main narrator, I still think I will enjoy this, so hopefully I won't be wrong. All right, so I have a reading update for you guys. So this morning I was reading Pride and Prejudice, and oh my god, so I made it to page 225, and if you've read this book, you know I just reached the halfway point and chapter 34 just made me scream the entire way through. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. I just felt such a strong feeling and I just wanted to scream into the void because oh my god, this book is making me feel so many emotions. And okay, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'll keep it at that. But I'm really invested now. I'm like prime enemies to lovers. I love this book so much. I reached a point where I really care. Before I was enjoying it, but for an instant I was kind of doubting why this is one of my favorite classics. But now I'm reading it and I'm like, I know why. This is so good. I am so excited for the second half of the book because the tension, it's killing me. It is killing me, but it is so good and I'm very excited. I'm hoping to finish this today. I don't know how feasible that is because I'm only halfway through and I really don't want to rush this. I really want to take my time with it. So if I don't finish it today, that's fine. But I think I could make it to page 300. I'm really into the mood to read this now. So I think I might be able to reach page 300 or something, and tomorrow I would have like 100 and something pages left to read. I also managed to make quite a bit of progress with the question of homes last night. So I made it to page 100. Okay, I have thoughts about this book. So far, this is told from Charlotte's perspective, which I am enjoying. I thought that I would miss Jamie, and I really do, but I think it's a good choice having Charlotte be the narrator of this book. She really went through a lot in the first 3 books in the series, and we never really got her perspective on things, and now we do, and I think it's a good idea to have her narrate. However, I do really miss Jamie as a narrator. I really liked him, and I hope we'll get at least 1 chapter from him. I thought this would be like a dual perspective situation where we get like 1 chapter from Charlotte, 1 chapter from Jamie, but so far it's mostly narrated from Charlotte's perspective, so it looks like it's going to be a Charlotte book, but I am enjoying it. However, I do wish the mystery was more predominant in this book. It is a YA mystery thriller, and you would think that this book would focus on the mystery, but so far it focuses mostly on the relationship between Charlotte and Jamie. I really love them. However, I'm really interested in the mystery. It's one of those rare cases where I'm more interested in the mystery than in the relationship. Kind of weird because I typically would really love this kind of book, but I'm very invested in the mystery. I love the fact that it's like an academia situation with like Shakespeare and just like the Oxford background. I just really like the premise of the book, and so far we haven't really talked about the mystery. There hasn't been a lot of mystery solving, a little bit, but not that much, and I wish it would dive deeper into that aspect of the book. Don't get me wrong, I love the relationship aspect of this book. It's great to see how far these characters have come, but I wish that the mystery would be a bigger part of the plot so far. It might change. We're only a third in, like I'm only 30% in, so that might change drastically in the second half of the book. Who knows? I love the Oxford background. It's not like super important to the story, like we don't necessarily get a lot of like descriptions and everything, but every once in a while we do, and I just love those moments because I have been to Oxford before. I visited the city and just fell in love with it, so I'm very happy that I see the city showcased in this book at least a little bit. Hi, so it is much later in the day, as you may be able to tell from the lighting, and I have an update for you guys. So I actually didn't finish reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and it's not because I didn't want to, because I'm currently on page 342. I've been reading this pretty much all day. The second half of the book is just so good. I understand why I love this book so much now. I remember why it's one of my favorite classics, because second half of the book, a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, it was so good. I kind of doubted myself in the first half. I was like, it's so slow. Why did I love this so much? But now I'm like, okay, I remember. Great plot. So many unexpected plot twists. The tension is amazing, and I'm really enjoying this. But I was all going to finish it tonight. Like, I only have about 100 pages left, and I was going to do it tonight. But here's the thing. One of the reasons why I wanted to read Pride and Prejudice is because I wanted to rewatch a 2005 movie adaptation. It's one of the best movies out there. It's one of my favorites. As I was reading this, I was really looking forward to rewatching the movie, and I knew it was on Netflix. I remember watching it when I came back from New York. I had downloaded it on my phone, and I was just watching it, and I had the best time. So I knew it was on Netflix, but I hadn't thought that maybe Netflix had removed it from their platform, especially because I think it was lately, like pretty recently, people in the US were basically like screaming about how it was back on Netflix, but I was in Canada, so I was like, you know what, it's still there. It has been there for a while for me, so I hadn't realized that they had taken it off. And tonight I did a little bit of research. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch a movie after I'm done with the book, so I went on Netflix just to make sure that it was there, and it's not there anymore. So I got kind of pissed because I had planned on doing like a little movie night, so I ended up like purchasing the DVD for like $5 on Amazon, and it should be here on Monday. So I decided that I would wait until probably tomorrow to finish the book, and then on Monday night we can watch a movie, because as I said, I really want to rewatch the movie. It's one of my faves. Instead, I have been reading A Question of Homes by Brittany Cavallaro. So right now I'm on page 158, sorry. And the mystery is really taking a turn. So you know how before I said this was really slow and not much was really happening, and I wished it focused more on the mystery aspect of it, but now it's really a big part of the book. Like, we can really tell that we're halfway through because the mystery is taking a bigger part, and I don't know where this is going. Like, I had an idea, I had a theory, but it feels very obvious now, so I'm not sure where this is going. I have no no idea. I'm sure I'm going to be surprised by the ending. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm really intrigued by the turn that this has taken. I've been enjoying the audiobook as well, and I'm enjoying the book as a whole, like a lot more than I thought I would, since, as I said, I was hesitant at the beginning because it's told from Charlotte's perspective, but I've been enjoying her as a narrator more than I would have expected, so that's great. So instead of watching Pride and Prejudice, I still wanted to have like a little movie night. Like, Saturday nights are usually my time where I just decompress, and I like to watch movies on Saturday nights. I typically don't do it throughout the rest of the week, so I usually take my Saturday nights to just like watch movies or TV shows or something. And so I thought that we would still watch something even if I can't watch Pride and Prejudice. And since I am reading a Sherlock Holmes retelling, I thought I would continue my rewatch of Sherlock, which I think I started during quarantine, like when we first got quarantined. So like probably like back in March or April. I don't remember exactly, but it never finished. I do that all the time. I start the first like 2-3 seasons of Sherlock and I never like finish the show. I've watched it in its entirety before. It's one of my favorite TV shows, but for some reason when I do my rewatch I always stop like after season 3. I thought that we would continue doing that. I thought it would be a nice way to watch something that is set in England and watch one of my favorite TV shows. But before I do that, this morning I baked with my mom and I wanted to include some clips here. So we first made some apple muffins and then I asked my mom to help me bake scones, which I think is very British. I remember my time in England with like the scones and the tea and everything, and I just thought that it would be a great idea to make them at home. So we made them and I wanted to film more clips for you guys of us making them, but my mom was with me, like I said, and she didn't want to be filmed, and I totally respect that. So I ended up just taking a clip of the final products. Anyway, let's talk about books, shall we? So first, I wanted to talk about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen because I did finish this book today and I loved it so much. I remember why it's one of my favorite classics, and I understand why people love it so much because it was just so good. I am giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars simply because the beginning was kind of slow and it was hard for me to get into. However, I did really enjoy it, and the second half alone deserves 5 out of 5 stars. It was just so good. The romance, the tension, the intrigue, the plot, just everything was just so good. The characters, oh my god, I'm in love with Elizabeth Bennet. She's my new favorite. I love her to death, and I just overall really enjoyed this book and I would highly recommend it if you guys haven't read it yet. I am very much looking forward to watching the movie now, which we can't do today because the DVD is not here yet. However, I should be receiving it tomorrow, so we'll try to make that happen during this vlog because I'm just so excited. I was reading this and I just kept picturing the movie and I am just so excited to be rewatching it. So I'm hoping that we can do that at some point, but I really enjoyed it and I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm excited to read the rest of Jane Austen's work now. I was really intimidated by her work at first, but now that I've read this one, I'm more, I guess, inclined to read the rest of her work, and I'm just very excited to give them a try. So now that means that we are going to continue reading A Question of Holmes. I am going to try to finish this tonight actually because I would really like to finish the second book, and I think I can do it because I only have 127 pages left, and so I think I can read it really easily with the audiobook listening on 1.7 speed. So let's read, shall we? Hey guys, so I'm trying not to be too loud because my sister is still sleeping, but I wanted to update you guys on my reading because I have finished reading A Question of Holmes by Brittany Cavallero. So I think I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it, but I feel like the mystery kind of fell flat. I thought the ending was kind of disappointing in that aspect. I wanted to love this mystery, and like the Dark Academia vibes just really got to me, but the ending just really fell flat in terms of the mystery. However, I did enjoy the romance in this book and the character development that Charlotte goes through. I think this is more so a book about her story and her growth as a character than a mystery. So I enjoyed that aspect a lot and I thought it was really well done. I love the romance, as I said before. Charlotte and Jamie are just super cute and I'm so happy that they are finally living the life that they deserve, basically, and I'm just very happy for them. Also, there's something that kind of bothered me. It annoyed me because I didn't understand the purpose. Towards the end of the book, we get a big reveal. It doesn't have anything to do with the mystery at hand, and it's basically about something that happened in one of the previous books in the series. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but we get a new piece of information about this, and I just didn't understand the purpose. Like, it didn't feel important. It didn't feel necessary to add this to the story. Like, yes, am I happy that we have new information on this? Of course, but I just didn't really understand why it was there. It didn't add anything to the plot or the story, and I don't know, it just really felt unnecessary and therefore like shock factor. I wasn't a big fan of how this was handled, but overall I did really enjoy the book, so I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars because I just felt like the mystery was what I was in for and I wanted more of that, but I still enjoyed it for other aspects. The setting was also amazing. If you're looking for a book set in Oxford and you read the rest of the series, this one is great. I just really felt the vibe of the city and it made me miss it a lot, so I enjoyed that a lot about it. Like the setting and the dark academia vibe, really great in this book. Really enjoyed that. So now that means that we are ready for our final book, and that's My Oxford Year, another book set in Oxford, which I'm very excited about because while this one features Oxford quite a bit, I'm sure this one is going to, I guess, I was gonna say solve my craving, but I'm sure that's not something you can say, but just help me fulfill my craving for an Oxford setting. So I'm very excited. Hey guys, so I have finished reading My Oxford Year by Julia Whelan, and where do I even begin with this book? So I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy it. However, it is very different from what I was expecting diving into it. I feel like the first half and the second half of the book are two different entities. They're very different, I guess, genres. Not even then, because the genre is pretty like standard, but it's not what you would expect diving into it, and based on the synopsis I just wasn't expecting this, and I don't want to spoil it, but I will leave my review with the trigger warnings in the description box down below because it is a very sad book and I feel like some of the content could also be triggering, but I did really enjoy it. I cried a lot, but it also has a happy ending. I was not expecting that. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and in terms of setting, it's incredible. I felt like I was in Oxford and I just wanted to go back and study at Oxford University. I really enjoyed it. It's hard for me to say a lot about this book without spoiling it, but when I read the first 50 pages I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. Our main character is kind of prickly and sometimes I recognize myself in her, but sometimes some of the things that she did and she said I just didn't agree with, and I was like, what are you even doing? But I loved the love interest. Like, I think he's the reason why I loved this book as much as I did, because if it hadn't been for him I probably would have given this book like a 3, maybe 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I really love the side characters. Like, I wasn't in love with our main character, but I did like all of the other side characters, and I just had a great time reading it. Like I said, kind of an emotional time as well, but I did really enjoy it and I would recommend it if you guys are looking for a book set in Oxford. But like I said, I will leave the trigger warnings in the description box down below or in the link in my review, just so that you guys are aware of what you're diving into, because if I had known what this book was about, I might not have picked it up. So overall, I had such a great time filming this episode. All of the books that I've read in this episode I would recommend to a certain extent. I just really enjoyed everything that I've read. Everything was above a 3 out of 5 stars and I had a great time. So I highly recommend all of the books that I mentioned, whether you're looking for something that is set in England or just something fun to read. Some of them are a little bit more emotional than others, but overall I just had a great time reading all of these books and I would recommend them all. So that concludes our video. I feel like I didn't do everything that I wanted to do. I still haven't watched Pride and Prejudice. I will try to do that maybe soon, but I just don't want to eternalize this vlog. But know that I have the DVD. I did receive it and I just didn't get around to watching it yet, but I'll try my best to make that happen soon. I hope you guys still enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below which destination you would like me to visit next. I have a couple of plans already, but obviously I'm always looking for your suggestions and your recommendations, so make sure to leave that in the comments down below. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video, even though it was a little bit more messy than I had anticipated. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I guess that's it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!